Happy Monday, all you minties. Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And finally, I get to do my advance overview of The Amazing Spider-Man Beyond Omnibus from Marvel Comics. So, join me. Before getting started, I do want to thank David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advance copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on June 6th or 7th, depending on where you get your books. And speaking of direct market, that's one of the direct market covers. That's right, this one has two direct market covers. The one on the left, that one is supplied by Humberto Ramos. And the standard edition cover on the right there is supplied by Arthur Adams. And this direct market cover here with Craven is also supplied by Arthur Adams. So this one has three covers. So the one available everywhere is the one on the right by Arthur Adams. The two on the left are available at only your local comic book shop or places like cheapgraphicnovels.com or waltzcomicshop.com, Dying Breed Collectors, Organic Price Books, In-Stock Trades, Comics Bugle, Reads Comics, and places like that. Alright, so finally, I get to talk about this book. I've had this book in my hand since October of last year, but the date of Marvel Omnis have shifted around, but now I get to talk about it because it's actually coming out in June. So, Spider-Man Beyond. First thing I'm going to do, where does it go if you're collecting Spider-Man Omnis? Well, it goes right after the Nick Spencer run, but we don't have a Volume 2 yet, so I'm making room right here for that Volume 2. So this follows the Nick Spencer run immediately after those two Omnis. Let's take a closer look at this cover here. Love this cover by Arthur Adams. The Amazing Spider-Man Beyond Corporation logo right there. Craven the Hunter over the city. And then Spider-Man with a new costume. The Amazing Spider-Man Beyond logo. And then Spider-Man again with a new costume making a face. The back is going to spoil something about this book. So if you don't want to know anything about this book, I don't know. I would say put me on mute, but you're still going to see the back of the book. But yeah. Alright, I do have to talk about some things, by the way. How the character is back, who this character is, and pretty much the premise of the book is kind of his new status quo at the beginning. So, alright, there. Smash that like button before you leave, if you don't mind. Okay, for people that don't care about spoilers or minor spoilers at that, I can't help it, but the back of the book is Ben Reilly is back in the Reds and Blues. But this isn't really the story where Ben Reilly came back. He came back in the Dan Slott run of Spider-Man. It was the Dead No More story arc. And he played a big part in that. And then he kind of got lost through space, if you will. So let's look at the flaps here. This tells you a little bit about the book right here and the creators. Because during this time is when they had another brain trust. I love when they did this. Like a think tank, like the Brand New Day era. That's what this era was like. The art on board is this really creepy piece by Michael Dowling. And it comes from the Craven issue. And I'll explain a little bit about what that is. So, we are going to open this up and talk about the stories collected in here. Again, talk about the premise of the story, the status quo of the character of Ben Reilly. I'm not going to talk about how exactly he came back. I kind of told you that he came back in the Dead No More storyline. But this does lead up to the big crossover that happens with X-Men and Spider-Man. And that is the Dark Web storyline, or the event that happens. So this sets up that event. I'm not going to go into detail as to how, though. But do know that this is supposed to be read before the Dark Web. Only available in trade right now. Alright, let's crack this open. So let's go ahead and crack this book open. We have these blue end sheets right there. And many poses of Spider-Man getting the crap beat out of him. And here we have a little blurb about Peter Parker and a little blurb about Ben Reilly. So remember the think tank, the brain trust I was talking about? Here are all of the creators that helped put that together. So it's Kelly Thompson and Zeb Wells, Cody Sigler, Saladin Ahmed, and Jed MacKay. Those are the main 5 writers that put all of this together. You have Patrick Gleason writing some of the stories in here, and Jeffrey Thorne. But for the most part, it was those five during this particular time. And then amazing artwork by Patrick Gleason and Sarah Pichelli. Also Ivan Fiorelli and Paco Medina helping out a ton. And of course, Michael Dowling, who did that piece that I'll talk about in a little bit. So he kicks off with Beyond 75, or just Spider-Man 75. Nick Spencer's run ended with 74, and now we kick it off with 75. The very ironic thing about that issue is that was the issue number that Ben Reilly, during the Clone Saga, where you saw his demise at the hands of Norman Osborn. So I thought that was really interesting and well planned. So in here, we have a couple of flashbacks, but you don't know whose flashbacks you're having at first. You don't know if it's Ben Reilly, the clone of Spider-Man, or if it's actually Peter Parker, the Spider-Man of the 616 universe. But as you find out, it is Peter Parker, and he heads out on a day out in the city, and he finds another person that's dressed up like Spider-Man. Now, this is after, of course, the Spider-Verse, and he's like, hey, wait a minute, you guys are supposed to check in with me, you know. So he thinks it's one of the Spider people from another universe, but as it turns out, it's Ben Reilly, and he has returned. So this starts off with issue 75, and it collects all the way to 93. It also collects the Dot Beyond issues, which everybody calls Bay, B-E-Y, even me. So it's got 78 Beyond, 80 Beyond, 88 Beyond, 92 Beyond. It also has the Mary Jane and Black Cat Beyond story, and then material from Spider-Man 74 and Free Comic Book Day Spider-Man Venom. That is placed really well in this book. This book is an excellent reading order. So in this story, we get the return of Ben Reilly, but as I mentioned, he came back in the pages of Spider-Man by Dan Slott in the Dead No More story arc. But here he tells Peter that, hey, there's this Beyond Corporation. Have you heard of it? And he was like, I don't know. No, maybe. What is this? And he's talking about how it's a multinational conglomerate who's been trying to buy up all these companies, and they want to buy up Parker Industries. And he's like, dude, there's nothing left of Parker Industries. But what they want is the trademark name Spider-Man. And Peter Parker's like, I can't give you that. And Ben's like, yeah, man, I'm not really asking. I'm kind of just letting you know. Damn, that was some cold stuff, dude. Ben, who he saw as a brother, right? Especially during not the original Clone Saga, but the 90s Clone Saga. That's how he saw him. And ever since he's come back, he's been kind of a little in his own world. Then we see that he's meeting up with Janine. And of course, that is the love of his life. But if you've read the original, or the 90s Clone Saga, you know that's not her real name. Her real name is Elizabeth Tyne. And there's a reason why she goes by Janine, and they explain here a little bit. But she's been let go from prison, and you find out how that all happened. And then both of the Spider-Man team up against the UFOs. So they're back. Ben Reilly's wearing this new Spider-Man outfit that the Beyond Corporation has made for him, giving him all these little gimmicks, including the ability to absorb all this radiation and poison that the UFOs are letting out. Peter Parker doesn't have that built into his costume, so he gets affected by this UFO's attack, whereas Ben doesn't, and he gets knocked out, and it kind of puts him in a comatose state for a while. So here he has, Ben that is, has the blessings of Peter Parker to become Spider-Man, because Peter has no idea when he's going to wake up and how long he's going to be taken out of commission. And the world needs a Spider-Man. So he's like, hey, Ben, you've got my memories. You're practically like me. You've got my powers. You have a whole new cool costume. You've got my blessings. Go and be Spider-Man. Well, he tells him to go be amazing. So the first thing he does is go after the UFOs. This is where they put, after issue 76, is where they put the Beyond Free Comic Book Day issue from 2021. This is the fight against the Bushwhacker, and this came out before issue 75 to kind of give you a small glimpse or a small taste as to what to expect of Spider-Man Beyond, and people were really happy. I had no idea there were that many fans of the clone of Spider-Man from the 90s, but apparently there were, and like my buddy Omnibus from the Aussie Collectors Group, he said that was like his first Spider-Man comic was the Ben Reilly stuff. So in here, you get to see what the Beyond Corporation is. This does focus more on Ben Reilly, Spider-Man, as he is being trained. The Daughters of the Dragons are back, which is so cool to see. They were hired by the Beyond Corporation. This is Maxine Danger. She's the head of the superhero development for the Beyond Corporation. There's other characters like Dr. Kafka, which is his therapist that Ben Reilly sees. There's Marcus, and there's a couple of other characters in the Beyond Corporation. Through these pages, he's going to be fighting Morbius, and this is, of course, while Peter Parker's taken out of commission. And the Beyond Corporation has a couple of twists and turns. Like, do you really trust somebody that's trying to cash in on the world of superheroes? Now, the important thing about this book, and what I was talking about, how it sets up Dark Web, is through the pages, well, as early, really, as issue 75 with this dream right here of these empty faces. But through the Craven issues, where Ben Reilly goes through this trial, where he sees the world like this, where he's starting to either lose memories or things that he believes are not his memories. Things are starting to be erased from him. He doesn't know why. That kind of leads him into this path that you'll see for the rest of the book. And man, there's some gorgeous artwork. Of course, eventually Peter Parker wakes up. There's some really interesting issues in here with Peter at the hospital. Mary Jane plays a really cool, not just supporting role, not the damsel in distress role, but she plays kind of a badass in here. Sometimes the variant covers, by the way, are on the opposite page of the standard edition covers. Doc Ock makes a return at the call of somebody special to Doc Ock. This is really cool. This is when Peter Parker's like, look, I can be Spider-Man, guys. And Captain America is summoned by Black Cat, who's like, he can't be Spider-Man. He's still weak. And Peter's like, no, I got it. I love this outfit. I'm not Daredevil when he's wearing that paper sack like he wore in his Fantastic Four outfit, which is so ridiculous. The placing, I love this. The placing of the Mary Jane and Black Cat Beyond is completely perfect. It's right after this cliffhanger of why Mary Jane is wearing a Black Cat costume. So right after that is where they put the one shot, and it rightly belongs there. And it's a really cool team up of Mary Jane and Black Cat. I really hope that we get some kind of collection of Mary Jane and Black Cat. I'm a big fan of Jed MacKay's writing. I really liked his Black Cat book, and it is getting an omnibus. And we get a brand new villain through these pages, and we get the return of the Slingers here with Ricochet and Hornet and Dusk. Now, Hornet, of course, is a little bit different because of the enemy of the state. Then we get a brand new character and the return of a classic Spider-Man artist with Mark Bagley. But we get the Queen Goblin, not to be mistaken with the Goblin Queen. But the Queen Goblin is now after, well, you can find out who she's after. There's a lot of spread pages in here that I'll do a little bit when we're looking at the build of the book. So, like I mentioned, all of this leads into what will eventually become Dark Web. And of course, if you're reading Spider-Man, eventually Peter Parker does wake up. You can find out exactly what happens to Ben Reilly through these pages. This is the issue I was talking about the standalone issue. I thought this was great. This is issue number 82. It's creepy. It's just Peter hanging out at the hospital, and there's some dark things going on at the hospital that he's staying at. There is a fight between Ben Reilly and Miles Morales. Miles, of course, claiming that he's not the Spider-Man. Now, so good to see these characters. Of course, I've always been a fan of Monica, but Aaron, it's just always good to see him, especially in the way that he's been portrayed since Next Wave. All right, all the way in the back is where you're going to find the variant covers. So this is the back matter, and it's mainly filled with variant covers. I love the excuse as to why he doesn't wear that outfit anymore. I think it's so cool. The Joe Jusko cards now being made into variant covers. And as with most variant covers at Marvel and at DC, some of these things that you're seeing through these pages does not happen at all inside of the book. They're just covers. Like, I don't remember Aunt May right there with a gang of apes. But this is a Devil's Reign variant. But yeah, these are what the covers look like. They're all around a frame. That is a nice homage to, what was that, 363? The third appearance of Carnage, full appearance. The covers are all around a frame, just like they are in the back here. So they do have a frame with no text on them, but they tell you what the cover is and who the cover artists are. Is that Gwen as Jean Grey? And there is the Queen Goblin. And the Slingers right there. This is one of the variants. Wow, that Adam Hughes. And the Daughters of the Dragons, which were a nice addition to the Beyond Corporation. And then these two, for some reason, got the thumbnail and the end sheets. Alright, let's talk about the binding and the build. So we have 672 pages. The book retails for $100. It is sewn binding. Here's what the eye looks like. Not too big, honestly, but let's look at the way that it lays over. So this is in the middle, which we should get the most picture here. You still have to hold it down a little bit to get everything. So there's a little bit of a gutter curve. This is printed at the iMac printer. So let's go back to the beginning to look and see what the spread pages look like here. You can see his shoulder a little bit is missing. So holding it down. Now you can see the full shoulder right there. So it is, or the kneecap. I should have used the kneecap as an example. Can't see the kneecap right there. Have to hold it down. This doesn't become a problem until you have some of the bubbles towards the gutter right there. Let's look at the pages. So this is what the paper stock they're using. It's not as thick as the Captain Marvel by Kelly Thompson book, but it's also not thin like some of the other iMac pages. Let's see here. So here's a perfect example. Like over here where the light colors are, but right over here where the whites are, you can see some of the frames coming from the opposite side, like so. Not so much the word bubbles, but just the frames. Let me see if I can find another. Yeah, here we go. I don't know if you can tell or not, but the lighting here in the room is so light. You can see the actual frame and a little bit of the word bubble right there. I was trying to find an example of the lettering that is right on the edge. Okay, here we go. So here's some lettering, and then of course Colleen right there, whose face you can't see until you hold it down. So it's got a little bit of gutter loss. Not the worst I've seen, but also not the best. But that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this omnibus. Let me know in the comments down below if Spider-Man is your character and you have to buy every single one of his omnis, or if you just get the best Spideys, if you collect just the Silver Age, where's your stopping point? I always like to know these questions, if people do have a stopping point, or if they're like, no, I'm getting everything, ups and downs, no matter what. And what you thought of this run. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. Everyone, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.